Hi, everybody. Rachel Tiede here with a look at your evening update tonight. And there's a lot happening tonight, a lot of breaking news. We've had team coverage on stories all day long. So right away, I want to bring in Tessa Bentulin, who's been covering this officer-involved shooting in Albany. We know this happened after an officer was stabbed on Franklin Street. So Tessa, you were at this press conference that wrapped up within the last hour or so. Just explain to us what we've learned.
Right, Rachel. So I wasn't anticipating this to get this much information from Albany Police, but we got a lot of good info and a lot of new information. We're going to put our shows at 9 and 11 o'clock tonight. So initially, we learned just from being there and from police earlier that a police officer was stabbed, and then we thought that the police officer who was stabbed shot the suspect. But now we're learning that there was more than one officer at the scene, and it was another officer who shot the suspect, not the officer that got stabbed. So they're both in stable condition. They're both at the hospital right now. And then the other officer who shot the gun, he is on probation right now, which is policy.
What do we know about the officer and the suspect? Are we learning more about each of them?
Yes. So as for the suspect, he is a 54-year-old man. They will not release his name. But Albany Police said he is very well known to police. They've had a lot of run-ins with him in the past. He's been arrested before, and he actually just got released from parole last year. So now he's in custody again for this incident. So it doesn't look to be a good run for him. And as for the officer, they're not releasing his name, either the officer that got stabbed or the officer who shot the gun. But we do know he is in stable condition as of right now.
Okay,
and
very good.
They were actually wearing a body cam footage, and they're going to release that body cam footage too in the next couple of days.
Okay, definitely a lot of moving parts, a lot of things that we're learning tonight. Of course, you're going to have an update for us at 9 and 11, and Taniqua Penix, continuing our team coverage, she's speaking to people in the neighborhood, witnesses, people who saw anything. So add their context as well. Of course, a very scary story and a very scary situation. So glad that we are getting updates on that. Well, Tessa, thank you so much for joining us. I know you have a lot to do, so we'll let you get back to doing your job.
All right, thanks, Rachel.
All right, talk to you later. Well, we also have other stories that we are following tonight as well. We are learning, in addition, the last couple of hours, we learned about the death of former Schenectady Police Chief Gregory Kazmarek. You might remember his name. He died of cancer Saturday at the age of 70 years old, that we're learning. He was the police chief in Schenectady from 1996 to 2002. However, his legacy was tarnished when he and his wife pleaded guilty in 2008 for his role helping to move cocaine and heroin from Long Island to the Capital Region. Both of them did serve prison time for that. So that's a story that we are bringing to you new at 9 and 11. More details coming in as we continue to dig into that story as well. Additionally, we have new information about voting rights today. Governor Kathy Hochul signed landmark legislation expanding access to voters across the state today. It's the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Act of New York. It aims to prevent voter suppression, intimidation, and deception based on race or language preferences. The legislation was signed this morning. This happened in Brooklyn. You're seeing that happen here. It stops election administrators from reducing polling sites in areas with more voters of color. The law is named after John Lewis. You might recognize that name. He's the late civil rights leader who passed away in 2020. The governor calling this legislation the most expansive state voting rights act in the entire country. And your last top headline tonight having to do with COVID vaccines. And this is for kids younger than 5. They now have the green light to get a COVID vaccine. That means doses could arrive in the Capital Region as early as next week. The announcement, good news to daycares and summer camps, because one child care center told us that the 10-day quarantine for young kids, every time somebody is positive, is just such a headache. It's such a bother for parents and for staff to have to deal with that. They do still have to send parents a bill, though, even when classrooms are in quarantine. So right now, the Office of Children and Family Services requires kids under the age of 2 or who can't wear a mask to quarantine for a full 10 days when exposed to COVID. And the office says that it will continue to follow CDC guidelines as we move into this new requirements and new recommendations. Also, thunderstorms are on the horizon. Let's bring in first warning meteorologist Paul Cano, who can explain what you should expect.
Well, warm front's going to head our way from the Great Lakes. It'll be the focus for more clouds on Tuesday, and watch the showers and some thunderstorms diving in by late afternoon and into the evening. That front producing the cloud cover and the focus for more showers as we get into Tuesday night, more action, and Wednesday with that front still kind of nearby but washed out. Notice still the risk of some showers and embedded thunder. So the midweek period will be a bit unsettled. Temperatures mainly in the 50s overnight tonight, back down into the 50s, and then tomorrow back up towards 70, although with some wet weather around, not really that warm for this time of year. You can see on the 7-day forecast, we'll eventually get back into the 70s. A few more showers on Wednesday, 76 Thursday, and finally up into the 80s on Friday and into the weekend.
All right, Paul, thanks so much. And I'll have an update of your forecast coming up at 9 and 11, breaking down hour by hour what you need to know when it comes to those potential rainstorms that he was talking about. So tonight on 9 and 11, we have a lot of moving pieces, as we were talking about. If you're just joining us, we're learning more about the officer-involved shooting that happened in Albany today. This happened after an officer was stabbed on Franklin Street. Tessa Bentulin has been following this story all day long, talking to police. She was at the press conference that wrapped up this afternoon and into this evening. We also have Taniko Penix, who is talking to witnesses and people in that neighborhood, adding context to this and what it might mean for people in that area. Also learning about the former Schenectady Police Chief Gregory Kazmarek's death. He was had spent time in prison for his role in helping to move cocaine and heroin. We're talking about the legacy that he leaves behind. Also talking about voting rights, as well as COVID vaccines, and more stories that continuously come into our newsroom tonight. It's been a very busy day here at News Channel 13. So, of course, we will continue to keep you updated on air and online. I'll see you guys at 9 o'clock.